primary ignition.
This is Star Wars.
Look out!
Core World News.
You may fire when ready.
From the bright center of the galaxy, I'm Grex Kondak, and you're listening to Core World News, our holiday news service providing in-depth coverage of all the latest stories from around the galaxy. Welcome to our coverage of Day 2, Star Wars Celebration. Now we host to share the news.
All right, thank you very much, Grex, coming at you from two suns rise here on Saturday.
Under the suns.
Yeah, under the suns, that's right, just as they're peeking over the corner here. We had plans for this weekend, and they went a little sideways. Poor Adam is actually feeling a bit under the weather, maybe a lot under the weather. Yeah. He's going to rest up and be back with us soon. But yeah, it's Grant and I here, and we have 2 episodes of Obi Wan Kenobi to talk about.
I think Obi Wan Kenobi. We've got the trailer for Jedi Survivor.
Yes, that just I woke up to that.
Panels that we were able to see. Like we'll talk about those. Yeah, we'll just talk about the many things, the variety of subjects, and get into it. But Obi-Wan, I think, will be our main showcase today, right? Like I'm thinking,
yeah, how can it not be, man? We've been waiting for this.
We were going to record earlier, but I was like, all I have for the show is praise, like high praise. Like I love what they've done with the show. It's the perfect story to take place in the 10 years between Revenge of the Sith and the 10 years between A New Hope. Like it's that perfect middle chapter because it makes perfect sense. It actually is like it works for the characters. Like so, if you were worried about the character direction and arcs in this show, fear not. Like it elevated all 3 trilogies with only 2 episodes, and that's like the first thing I texted to you guys yesterday.
Yes,
like, this somehow elevated all 3. Like
it was, and I had that in the back of my mind when I was watching these, and I want you to elaborate more as we go through the discussion because I was like, oh, it was like in there, and there's definitely little echoes from both directions, right? From the sequels and from the prequels, a lot from the prequels too. What did you think about the like opening, the flashbacks?
Part 1, the opening. I was dying to see Anakin because to set it up for the listeners. We go back to Order 66 and the siege on the Jedi Temple by clone troopers. I guess the 501st, the Anakin's unit. Right?
Yeah. We get right into it, and I feel like I should mention on Discord, one of our beloved participants, listeners, and person on the show really had a bad experience with that first scene, given recent events in the United States of America right now.
It's terrible, the climate and what's happened recently, and I know that can impact a lot of popular storytelling, and I think that will be in future stories. I think they will discuss that stuff, and I think Andor sort of has to explore that stuff and be like, this is terrible, and really say like, and that's why I really liked the sequel trilogy, because I loved how it kind of stood up for passiveness and it kind of talked about the ultimate good and all this kind of stuff, and was really, really hopeful in that regard. Yeah. And but now we are getting into the trenches of a fascistic, terrifying regime, and I'm worried about the storytelling during this time. I really do think we need almost a hopeful Jedi story as well when we have Star Wars as the IP in America. I think we need also the Force, and I think that's so. Hopefully, we're getting Ahsoka. I hope will be a sort of a show that will explore the kind of like the ultimate good and it serve as escapism. I understand. I can understand.
Yeah, it was an active shooter in a school. That was the first scene, and I didn't think about it like that. I don't have children in it. I mean, obviously, I've been following this story. It's all these stories,
right? Because it is younglings that are in danger, but at the same time,
and a teacher that gets murdered.
It's more of a fascistic regime than like the solo, crazed person. It's not like to me. I didn't really like associate it with that, but I did like it. It is a hard thing to watch, and they showed a lot of it, and I almost think you didn't need. I don't want to like criticize the show, but like I only have a few points of contention. And I was like, I would show Anakin here and Anakin and Reva and set something up here, and then that could be deep, and that could be something that builds. We
might have seen Reva. Reva could have been one of those kids.
I think she was. I believe so. I believe she's one of the. So we open up with these younglings. There's about 5 younglings, I think, and their master. And the master's like, they're doing just some awesome Tai Chi. Like, it's so, with Coruscant as the backdrop. We were in Coruscant again, not only in Obi-Wan, but in Andor and in multiple upcoming shows, and I couldn't be happier. I think it's just like the hub of politics, and politics were missing from Star Wars for a long time. It's sort of like these factions and these organizations, and I like that we're back in Coruscant, in the bustle. But, seeing the skyline, they're training, they're doing Tai Chi, and then clone troopers just burst in, siege the room.
I did, I mean, obviously, triggers aside, the same thing. I was just like, oh my god, it's Coruscant. Oh my god, it's Order 66. And like, again, if I never see Order 66 again, my heart will be the wholer for it, because it's just like, it's so tough. But I mean, it's important in the story to establish your antagonists, and I think that's one thing I think this show is excelling at.
It was also exhilarating, the sequence, like the actual, I think it's like almost like a oneer. It's like a long take almost, where we follow the Jedi and like her younglings through the Jedi temple, seeing other Jedi fight off clone troopers. She engages in like several clone troopers, takes them all out like flawlessly, and then obviously she's
overcome. I think
that opening where we pull out from the skyline of like Coruscant and go over like the tree line into the temple room with the younglings, like that first shot.
Amazing.
I was swept away, honestly, swept away. And it was it was the happiest place I could ever be. Basically, every minute before Order 66 erupts, I was like, is the show I want? It's that like chill vibes, Jedi temple. Everyone's learning their craft, but then like one Jedi is like going to fall. Like it's like the simple story I want. It's just like it's like Harry Potter, and you got Slytherin. And it's there's something. There's got to be one character.
I was just like appreciative of them reaching both arms around the prequels again for this show. They haven't done that at all. They didn't do that at all in the sequel trilogy, and like this was just like, oh man, Coruscant again. When I think of the prequels, I get super happy. I love it. So I mean, all those scenes, the montage. So like the montage leading into it, the like, in case you missed it section, which I think
they basically truncate the prequels, the entirety of the prequels, and basically show Anakin and Obi-Wan's journey with sprinkled with the Qui-Gon. Qui-Gon will be in the show, by the way. I have no doubt at this point. It's so clear that the Grogu of this show is Qui-Gon Jinn, even though I thought it was going to be another character, but that character is quickly introduced.
Right. I think I know. I was like, oh, you're laying so much like you're Qui-Gon track so right now. I think that's going to be his like Obi-Wan's ultimate sort of end, is that like he's find peace, and then it'll be like one scene of Liam, or even not, just his voice or something come somewhere, and that'll be the culmination. I hope it's more, because you know how we feel about Qui-Gon Jinn on this show.
I mean, my all-time favorite Jedi. I was wondering if he would be in the show. It sounds like he's going to be like kind of a major reveal. It sounds like what we need to see is Obi-Wan reconnect to the Force in this show. That seems to be a big point of the story, which is Obi-Wan's been disconnected from the Force, much like Luke on Ahch-To for 10 years. Tatooine, just sworn not to use it. And we'll get to Obi-Wan. We'll talk about Obi-Wan. We'll just get past that. We got to get past this Jedi sequence. We're past them. So in that scene, that first Jedi Temple scene, I wish I had seen Anakin. Like, that's the only thing about the Anakin. I was like, we're going to turn and see Anakin? Like, is something crazy going to happen? But it was really about the younglings. And clearly, I think one of them is Reva. I thought her name was Reva for the longest time. Sorry about the pronunciation of that. But it's Reva.
Yeah, she's fantastic. I mean, just one more note on that. I'm even going backwards now, but the way it was, that like montage was cut together, seeing it the second time, it really has this great pace to it and this great motion. And I loved how they used the like Attack of the Clones scene where they're Anakin's driving the speeder straight down into Coruscant as like a metaphor for his descent into the dark side, and like him like laughing as he's doing all this stuff, and like There's also really interesting music, I think, that played over it. I don't think it was kind of more like trailer music. It was just, it was very compelling. It was kind of like this, like, it was different than the John Williams score. I feel like it was, felt more modern. We did get some John Williams in this. He wrote the Obi-Wan theme, which is sort of the overarching melody for for these shows. And then I thought all the music in between was beautiful too. It's just very classical. It's like a lot of just like classical score. Maybe it's like a quintet, like a string quintet. It's kind of thin. It's not the full orchestra, but it's a lot of strings and like individual strings. It's beautiful.
Yeah. So what did you think about the Inquisitors and like how they basically intro the show? They basically like it's their ship that flies into Tatooine. They're hunting a Jedi who happens to be one of the Safdie brothers. We'll talk about that. I was like, no way, did I just see that guy in Licorice Pizza? And I was like, oh my God, he's in this too. And obviously good time. And and I believe they direct together the Safdie brothers, incredible films.
They just they're like, can we just get all like directors to be our actors? That'd be like Joel Edgerton too.
Yeah.
I did. So I thought the Inquisitors were one of the best parts of the show. Because like we always talk about like how like developing antagonists is like the hardest thing to do, and this also really lent itself well to the lore behind the Sith to me, where it's just like this is why there's only a rule of two, because they just eat each other. Like they're constantly like jockeying for position, and there's internal politics here and like dark side politics, and
right.
And it really shows off the Grand Inquisitor too. Like he's like, I don't know. I love this sort of, you understand the challenges that the Grand Inquisitor face, and if you've watched Rebels, a series, you sort of know he has a very interesting arc, and this is really lending to itself to that.
Yeah, Rupert Friend crushes. But yeah, it is additive to the lore of the dark side, because I feel like in the show, there's almost like a metric for like your good light and dark meter. And like the Grand Inquisitor is basically like really dark. He's like the darkest of everyone in terms of like, I imagine just being evil, like just being tyrannical and evil and authoritative. And I guess in this show, he talks about Reva like not being one of them, and I think it's because there's like she might have some good, and I think she like she's still retained her like beautiful just regular looks. She hasn't descended into the hard.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah.
So I just feel like I feel like it's adding this sort of like I don't know. I would say like a tier of sort of dark side tier system for like who is the and I imagine that the Emperor and Vader can sense people's darkness, and so like they can sense that the Grand Inquisitor is like the worst among them, so he should lead them. You know what I mean? Like and his eyes are yellow, so he has the permanent Sith eyes. Like I don't know. To me, there was like a lot of science on like world building here. I was like, this is cool. Like I think adding him to the live action is actually a really cool idea. I had my doubts at first because I almost think the Inquisitors are too awesome. They're like too rad. Like I was like, they're almost too rad. Like to me, like the original, when we start getting into the original trilogy, everything has to look like kind of camp, and like there's one of these guys because it's expensive, like it has to look more indie, I guess, into the original trilogy. Then it can, I guess, get less indie when it comes out of it into the sequel.
And prequel era or just before. I had a different take on that. What you said just makes sense, and I'm sure you're right. But
no, I'm not right. It's up to interpretation.
Because I think the Grand Inquisitor actually, he ultimately, after his end, like sort of comes back around and like is still on the light side. He becomes like a, spoilers for Rebels, but I think he becomes like a ghost sentinel in like one of the temples, like. Right? Doesn't Kanan Jarrus sees him in a temple later on after he is killed?
Yeah. He was a temple guard, which like they wore that like golden white faceplate. And
had the yellow lightsaber and like
yellow lightsaber.
Yeah, it was kind of interesting, and I sort of wondered if actually, because as far as like doctrines, you've got Sung Kang is second brother.
So good.
He's so good,
brother.
But he's kind of a sycophant. He's in the system. He's indoctrinated. He's trying to, he rats Reva out at one point. So we know he's kind of a suck up to the Grand Inquisitor. But Grand Inquisitor is playing a very conservative game, I would say, as far as doing this. And Reva
doesn't want to cause a stir, and he doesn't want there to be disruption with the like imperial politics that are happening. Because I think you understand this is a very savvy. Hand and play in like the Senate and the Moffs and what they're doing, that he doesn't want that to be interrupted with like disputes in the Outer Rim. They want to control it with ease.
Right.
That's the most evil, honestly. I think that's the most evil like thing you could do. Where
That's a good
Reva
perspective.
is, I think, I think it's important to set up that like she's very instinctual and she's doing a lot of very like evil, violent things throughout the beginning of these two episodes, and she basically seems like she could be the worst among them. Like she could be
Right.
Who's
That's what I mean.
of, like the worst actions, and then obviously the fate of the Grand Inquisitor, which we'll get there, is pretty cool. That was pretty fun. I thought that turn sort of like moment.
Well, yeah, I have notes about that too because I'm pretty sure he survives that.
Yeah,
that saber that wound.
Wait, so in Rebels, he like falls into like dark chasms multiple times. Like, does he
just
like
once? I think Kanan Jarrus kills him on that. On like they have like a catwalk thing and they destroy him. And that happens. What is it? Rebels is 3 years before the Battle of Yavin, I think. 4 years.
Vader can come back from some lava. Like I'm sure he can come back from.
Yeah, from a stab wound. He will. He has to. But yeah, I think like Reva definitely has. She has her own methods, not sociopathic, but I think like her methods are just like straight up evil. Maybe they've been trying those things for 10 years and like with no results. But she was about to get results on 2 occasions before she's stymied by her own plan.
Yeah.
And I mean, yeah, the whole thing with the knife and just like, this is how we get him out. This is just like, he's like, I'll kill this family if you don't help them.
Yeah.
Like really fascist, terrible things that it feels like, Second Brother and Grand Inquisitor don't go that far.
To her credit, when she threw that knife, she, I think, sensed a Jedi would stop it. And
yes.
So I think she knew it wouldn't kill the person she threw it at.
So let's talk
There's something to her where she actually has threatened to do a lot of violent things. It's actually like making The Last Jedi better for me, where I'm like, I guess people can hold up sabers to people. It's normal. It's chill. Like people are just like, it's a quick form of diplomacy or whatever. And it's like, and then I just don't know why Luke would do it to his own nephew, but no big deal. All right. Okay. All right. It's fine. But this is actually making it very interesting because I feel like she is sort of the mole. She is the good guy among these bad. I really do think that this show could end with Reva kind of like protecting Obi-Wan. I think that's what's being set up. Honestly, you see the Jedi Temple. You see that she was like, a Jedi once, and really.
I love that they talked about that right off the bat. Like they didn't. That was kind of the reveal in Jedi Fallen Order was that like, oh, all these Inquisitors used to be Jedi, but they're pretty. Yeah, they're vague about her like being. I thought she was almost a foundling, just like some rando. But if she was in the temple, I guess she's just not as evil somehow. Not as strong in the dark side.
She's fallen. She's a fallen Jedi, I guess.
Yeah. But they're all fallen.
Then. Do they believe they're crystals, those guys, or does like Vader do it and like throw like kyber crystals at them?
Really good question, man. I would think they do that. That would have to be a rite of passage. If he had to do it, they'd have to do it because it's like that's like the last like most cruel step for some reason is changing a rock from bad to good.
Yeah, so she had to do that essentially is what I'm wondering at this point.
Yeah, but her lightsaber isn't whole. She doesn't have full helicopter lightsaber.
The Emperor just chipped away at his giant red one on like Exegol and just like gave them a little sharp.
You get a red lightsaber crystal, and you get a red lightsaber crystal. Yeah, he's sure got enough, but I think that isn't that like the core of.
There's gotta be is that what Exegol is? Is it a planet that's like has red kyber crystal like
at its core, like the opposite of Ilum, like Ilum's opposite number?
It's kind of awesome.
But I love the like subtle force sensitivity like narrative that's like underneath. It's sort of like you're like, oh, can she sense the force? Can he sense the force? Is Obi-Wan not using the force because he's going to be this shining beacon of light when he starts using it that'll draw everyone to him? And so a lot of in this first investigation by the Inquisitors, like she's just sensing, and like you just said, like, do they know he's there because he's using it? But it wasn't until he used the force to stop the knife that she was like, look, it's that guy waving his hand, kind of weird. But I just, it's like a cool sub story of this. And obviously in episode 2, we get more of that. We see Obi-Wan's really reluctant to use the force.
Of course, Benny Safdie is the sweaty guy who runs away. Of course.
Poor Benny.
But wait, and tough luck for that Jedi, by the way, because let's get to Obi-Wan. I think we have to at this point because other Inquisitor moments happen after this, which there's the first dismemberment in Star Wars, but we'll save it until we get back to them. But there's the first. We do get the first dismemberment, I think.
Right. So you just want to talk about
Disney-led Star Wars. Sorry.
Yeah, I know. I was really happy about that. That made me very pleased that it was like
really,
it made them actually threatening, like, and then when she holds a lightsaber to Owen Lars, you're like, well, I mean, we know he's going to be safe, but it's still very threatening and menacing.
But when we do catch up with Obi-Wan, he's cutting up some sashimi. Like, is that?
Yeah.
I was hungry during that scene. I was like, "Can we order sushi?" Because we keep going back to that sort of.
Yeah, I know his Eope is eating better than all the Eopes.
What is that creature?
That's an Eope.
No, not the creature. The thing they're cutting the meat.
So I didn't really realize at first. I was like, "Oh, it's an old calcified skeleton of because it looks like a manta ray." So I thought it was like, "Oh, it's like from the oceans of Tatooine back." And I was like. But I'm like, oh no, they're cutting fresh meat off this thing, so it must have just died. It's just like a new crazy sand
manta or something.
Sand manta, yeah, that they found in this pop-up butchery.
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny that Obi Wan Kenobi gets a job as a butcher.
I thought that was kind of poetic. I was like, it's just like the galaxy's in a bad spot if a Jedi has to just cut meat all day. The Jedi are probably vegan.
Yeah, right. Yeah, actually, I think he is. He goes.
He doesn't eat that meat. He brings it to his Eope.
Yeah, that's his Eope food, which is adorable.
Wait, no one sees him stealing meat off the line.
Yeah, I know that was the other day. I'm like, that's the. I mean, he does the same thing every day.
He's looking pretty obvious.
Just him. Yeah, he's like, that's mine, by the way. Maybe he's got a deal with someone, but because he seems connected and has it. But yeah, so. It makes sense to me. I just want to talk about so this is 10 years in. There's still storytelling. There's the John Jackson Miller book that Kenobi, and so it didn't retcon any of the early Order 66 Obi Wan Kenobi, which is he had some adventures and was ultimately led him to I have to just lay low. I just have to lay low and disconnect to the Force and just follow them, but it's made him a broken man by not being connected to the Force. He's just gotten cynical and tired, and he just sort of sleepwalks. And then when he actually does sleep, he's traumatized. He's still post-traumatic stress from that experience, which makes a lot of sense. But 10 years later, and he's still having nightmares about his interaction. And so there was another montage there. That was, I think, the one that I thought was cut really nice of his dream sequence.
Oh yeah.
And and just just freaking out, and he's just begging Qui-Gon Jinn to offer him some counsel. But it's if you're not connected to the Force, how are you gonna commune with a Force ghost?
Right.
You deeply, deeply commune in order to do that.
That dream sequence is very important because it shows. I think the last shot is Anakin in a Naboo fighter or pod racing with the sort of leather helmet on, spirit of adventure. And what you see when he spies on Luke, when he's being a voyeur on the farm, he sees Luke on the hut, basically flying he's pod racing or he's in a Naboo starfight, he's a fighter pilot, and that all pertains to A New Hope. Telling him his father was a great pilot. He wants Luke to be inspired with adventure, and he wants Luke to have that, the fun and because he did watch Anakin have a great time for a while. Anakin really did get to explore his abilities and flying and the Force and combat and all this kind of stuff, and the swashbuckling of all that was fun. That's fun for them.
Yeah, I mean,
thinks Luke would want to do that too.
Right, Obi-Wan saw Anakin in his prime years, as a child growing up, having fun, developing his skills.
They did have fun for a long time together. They were, they were brothers. But it's that montage ends with that shot, but it's about connecting to Qui-Gon, I think, as well. And the mission with Qui-Gon to not only raise Anakin, but now Luke. Luke could possibly be the chosen one that Qui-Gon was just a step away from. And what I feel is he says that in Rebels. Obi-Wan's like, he is the chosen one to
He is the
Maul
chosen
when he
one,
kills Maul. Or Maul asks him, is he
Right.
the chosen one?
And he goes, he is.
He is. Like, Filoni did not need to add he is. Like,
Yeah.
he almost didn't need to do that, you know?
Yeah.
But
It was.
Obi believes that.
It's cool. I mean, obviously we're going to get to Leia soon, but there seems like some politics around, like there's two camps. They're like, well, the boy's going to be the swashbuckling Jedi hero and the girl's going to be the leader in the Senate. And I think it's just kind of funny that, I don't know, they're commenting on that a little bit, I think, where it's like, you start to see that the aptitude like really shifts towards like Leia's really showing. Like there's something about like that conversation with Joel. Sorry, I have to start calling him
Owen Lars.
Owen Lars again. And so I don't know why. Yeah,
he's incredible in the show. Like this gruff Owen Lars, like exactly who Owen Lars needs to be. Deborah Chow again. Like shout out to the director, Deborah Chow. She's incredible. Like the action sequences, obviously the temple sequence in the beginning we've just talked about, and then just the action sequences in part 2 that are spectacular, and then just the dialogue moments and the little beats and the Joel Egerton, like that direction of the character and that conversation between Obi and Owen is really well done and perfect. Like Obi's a man of few words. He wants to teach Luke, and Owen's like, stay off my farm. It's like it's very basic dynamic, and I love it.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, they're just like they keep waiting for like the Force to show. They're like, you're waiting for him to show like any signs of like, he's like, oh, is he doing Force stuff yet? Is he ready? Or some like inclination?
There is a bit of like coincidental camp in this show though, because like the Inquisitors like keep walking into scenes, and you're just like, oh, and they're like, we know people are here. We know there's a Jedi here, and I'm like, okay, we get it. You guys are here. We get it. Yeah. And then they just hold a lightsaber up to Owen Lars, like I single him out of like 20. Also, like you're telling me there aren't like bounty hunters and like ne'er-do-wells on Tatooine who would like fight back against Inquisitors.
Right. That would be cool. That would have been fun.
What if they had to like battle off a guy who's just like a random bounty or a Dengar, and then the guy who's like running away from them, and they're like, we gotta go battle him off. That's why the Grand Inquisitor is busy, like, you know what I mean, or something. And then Reva gets to go do her side plot, something that's like set up that Tatooine's like, I don't know. Yeah,
I think they're just establishing how bad and mean the Inquisitors are, and it's just like no one messes with them.
That's true. And then they single out Owen Lars. Owen Lars just says all the right things.
Yeah, really.
Says all the right things.
Yeah, because she senses that he has a secret. Like that's one of her abilities, right? She can read minds and just like suck information out of minds and read all that stuff. And yeah, definitely this. I felt it the second time I watched it. She was like, oh, but I mean, what he's really hiding is Luke. He doesn't care about Obi-Wan, but he's really trying to protect Luke, and she's trying to drag that out of him. But he was able to use enough truth in his statement, I guess, to survive. But she's still, there's a red flag on him for Reva. She knows there's something there. Yeah.
She definitely can sense it, Owen. And then obviously the Grand Inquisitor, you see the power dynamic that the Grand Inquisitor is sort of like, I guess the one in charge, and he reins her in, and it's like, stand down, makes you stand down, and you can sense tension there, which does pay off. So it's important to observe that tension.
Then there's a lot of tension.
Yeah,
really gets tense.
It's great stuff. The drama within I really like the Inquisitors for a sort of like dramatic,
So the other thing they did is Obi-Wan refuses the call to action at least twice. There's like, there's his boss that's like stealing wages. And then there's like, obviously the first Jedi that tries to solicit his help. He refuses that. And then, finally Bail Organa's like, doesn't he refuse it? I just think that's great because to me, and I have a tattoo of it, like the original call to action in Hope is like, help me, Obi Wan Kenobi, you're my only hope. Like that's the call, or the most
it's
iconic.
Beautifully structured opening too, in terms of the Jedi storyline with Obi-Wan and what's Benny Safdie's character's name?
It's like Kuri,
Nari. No.
Okay.
Like basically there's a crazy sequence where it's like the middle of the night. It's like it's lit like twilight, and Obi-Wan's like, traveling through the desert on his Eopie, and
the Jundland
and
Waste.
Nari like runs out and is like, you gotta help me, like, please, they're gonna like hunt me down, like, oh, you used to be a great Jedi. And Obi-Wan's like, no, my name's Ben. Like,
Yeah.
You love that moment.
Oh, I do. Yeah, Ben. Yeah, I love that moment. Every time I hear it, I'm like,
you need that film cell.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was money. Yeah, and then he just does. Obi-Wan refuses to help him, and Nari the next day is tragically,
strung up.
In
So
the town.
dismemberment, yes. Hanging, no.
Yeah. Yeah.
Forget
Strung
it.
up.
They're just like he looks very comfortably attached to us.
and very much dead. And obviously, you imagine the Inquisitors did it, and then they leave him as a symbol to like the people. Which I did see stuff like that. I think in the old Amy Hennig, like concept art for the Amy Hennig game back in the day, they did like show some like Imperial controlled areas where like there was like, they were just to try to bring fear by fear tactics, I guess.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping Kari was going to run off into the desert and we'd see him like in a later episode as a Tusken Raider, hiding as a Tusken Raider. I thought that would have been cool, but when we could get that.
That might have been the original script.
Yeah, I know, right? We had heard about that. I forget the name of that Legends Jedi Tusken, but that would have been, I don't know. I want to see a Jedi Tusken. Is that so much to ask for?
Yeah, so a lot of refusal to call, but then obviously we go to Alderaan, which was awesome, and that was the real reveal of the show, really, because in all of the marketing material you do not see a glimpse. There's not one frame of Alderaan or Leia, young Leia, 10-year-old Leia, which was such a wonderful surprise, and the actress who plays her, it's just so well acted.
Yes.
And she's so sort of confident and intelligent, and is always like rebellious and going against the grain of the royal family, and
right.
But then what's great is the character moment they give her is that her like cousin comes, and the cousin accuses her of not truly being an Organa and being adopted, and highlighting that or whatever, and
terrible things kids say.
She claps back, and it's the best.
Yeah,
it's the best. That we won't say all the dialogue here. It's worth just watching the episode.
Yeah.
But then she does. She's it's the Leia you know and love, and she's just 10 years old, and so it's so much fun. I thought they did such a great job writing that character, and then Jimmy Smits
killing it.
I'm crying in my living room because Jimmy Smits not okay.
Oh yeah, as the greatest dad ever. Like he's
just a shot of their silhouettes just standing on the balcony, like looking out at Alderaan. Like that's all I needed. That's really all I need.
That's all. Life. It's just Jimmy Smits and Leia Organa just there,
and telling her she's an Organa and that she's gonna one day boss her cousin around. And great.
And it was really quick, but they showed the interaction between Breha Organa and Bale, and then her sister and the cousin.
Is that a new Breha, or is that the same Breha?
Oh, I think it's the same.
It's the same. Oh, she's incredible.
I think it's the same, but she's incredible and such a great character from Leia, Princess of Alderaan. We get a lot of backstory on her in that novel, and definitely read that. That's a Claudia Gray joint, right? Leia, Princess of Alderaan.
Yes.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So good.
So Breha is an amazing character in her own right, and I love that we're seeing that dynamic there. And you can tell though that like this like the in-laws, the cousins, like Breha's sister and husband
wearing all gold, the cousin, the kid.
Yeah, and he's like
the outfits were kind of on point though. I was like, can I live on Alderaan? Like, can I? The sky cars, it looked like I don't know, there was sort of like a Tesla Elon Musk sort of like vibe on like the ground level, like cars, sky cars. I was like, okay, like,
self-driving sky cars, and they're like waving out of there like to the things. So Alderaan is one of the greatest like biomes they've ever made, and you only see it in a few frames, so it's great to just be here. Like really organic like spires that they make.
I love the soldiers too. Like I love the little capes. I think they look great.
Yeah, the Alderaanian Guard, and you sort of see that's like a lot of the influence for the design, or it's for A New Hope for the soldiers in the rebellion. There's a lot still wearing that gear, so. Yeah, Alderaanian Guard, we get.
And again, I don't want to highlight sort of like some of these character intro moments that are kind of abrupt, but like there are like pirates watching from the woods in these.
So
it's like it's like shadowy silhouette. Like,
oh my gosh, I loved it though. Someone's watching, and they have a rat tail, so it can't be good. I'm a bass player, and my first favorite bass player is Flea. So I would recognize his voice from anywhere, and when all of a sudden he talks, I just go, Flea? I'm like, what are you gonna funk her to death?
Wait, and then when did you see the front? When did you see his outfit? What did you say when you saw his outfit?
I said, we believe in nothing, Lebowski.
Yes, but it was almost like their leader because he's like in a black kimono with like, I don't know, neon orange bandana and like shirt inside. I was like, this is a wild. It was like the woods he looked crazy in the woods. I was like, the only way to shoot woods and not make it look like camp is to have an outfit just be ridiculously outrageous. Like, yeah, no, it's a wild. I definitely like gave that some looks up and down, and like it's a weird trench coat, like a dark trench coat over the like flaming orange, and he's got some weird like attachment or modification, sort of like cybernetics on his head, which is cool because we see him from the back of the head a lot, and it's sort of I'm like, oh, is this person deaf? Like, do they need is this a hearing device or something? But then I was like, no, he's just gonna bring the metal, dude. He's just metal.
Yeah, I guess funk metal.
But then I think like so. Then too, so obviously Leia runs back out to the woods after dealing with her after doing this parade, I guess, with the cousins. Because she doesn't want to apologize. She doesn't want to apologize to the kid in the gold suit. She goes on this parade. She waves to people. All she does is wave. She's like, all I do is wave. Like, this is terrible. And I was like, I agree. That'd be pretty boring if all you want to do is like watch starships. And that's I think that scene I kind of thought that scene was perfect in every way.
Right. And she's activated in all the ways that Obi-Wan's hoping for Luke. But I mean, I guess Luke is sort of there already, right? If he's already pretending to be in a fighter, starship when he's at home, then he's just, they're both pretty much at the same spot. But
yeah, this show also kind of shows how beat down Luke is, right? Owen seems like a pretty strict dude.
Strict dad. Yeah, he's like, where are you at all time?
He's like, are the evaporators clean yet?
Yeah, right. Great, get out there.
Get off there, Luke.
You're 10.
He runs 10 yards away from him, and he's like screaming his name, and I'm like, he's literally just like on the other side of the house. Like he'll just walk around the corner.
Where's he gonna go? There's this like
where is he gonna go?
You can see clearly in like 1,000 meters in every direction.
Protective services on this. Like, what's going on? Yeah. It's screaming at this 10-year-old right there.
What'd you think of Obi-Wan's rock crevice home? I know this is a little bit of a.
I thought it was gorgeous. I thought it was such a smart set. Like it perfectly. It was like I imagine that if there was any force energy on Tatooine, it would be in that like beautifully shaped kind of sandstone.
Yeah.
That dwelling that Obi-Wan found.
Oh, okay.
I think he's trying to connect with Qui-Gon there. I think it's like a little temple or something, but he's disconnected from the force, so it's like.
Yeah,
I don't know how that's gonna happen, my guy. Like, how about you connect fully? And then like the force is like, you got to go fight Vader, and he's like, oh no, I can't do that. Like, I have to.
Yeah.
Don't want to. Connect.
Yeah. Well, so that answered. We actually covered a lot of good ground last week on this when we were talking about it, and we hit on a bunch of the stuff. We talked about Alderaan, talked about Obi-Wan's connection with Vader, and I think that was one of the last questions I asked you was sort of like, does Obi-Wan know that Darth Vader is Anakin and that there is such thing as a Darth Vader? Like, does he still believe that Anakin's dead?
Right.
And I love that they
show and handles that beautifully.
Yeah, because he didn't, they early in episode 1, it's Owen, Lars, and Obi-Wan, talking about like, you killed him, you killed Anakin. That's the real like grind for Owen is like, this is, you killed this kid and with your bad teaching. And then, the reveal that he actually didn't kill
Anakin Skywalker's dead.
Yeah.
He says that at one point. I was like, I love that line. Owen Lars is a G.
He's a G. Yeah, and Joel's like changed the voice from like when he was younger, and it's like getting towards the Owen Lars we know in A New Hope.
Perfect.
The nose is like a little more bulbous
so
now.
good.
I swear there's like a prosthetic where they're making him look like the character that played Owen Lars in A New Hope.
Jedi are vermin to me.
Yeah.
I kill vermin on my farm. I was like, okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Ewan.
Yeah, I'm just really looking forward to the hut. I want to see it make that like that's how dorky.
The hut. We need to get the hut in the show.
We got to get the hut.
He's
the
got to
like
get
hermit
to the
hut.
hut.
Yeah.
You got to make some credits and buy a hut. Bale has to be like, I'll hook you up finally. He's like, I know I've been bad to you, Obi-Wan. I know you've been living in a cave for 10 years, and I should probably send you some credits.
Yeah.
I'll give you some now, my friend.
I know, yeah. That's might be it. He's like, oh, you need money? Like, yeah.
He's like, Obi-Wan, why didn't you tell me there's money problems? Like,
loaded. I don't even...
It's like, guy, I live in a castle.
You see that statue back there? I bought 4 of them. I don't even know why. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I think we know where he gets the hut.
Yeah. Right. And bankrolled. But I am curious about that. And oh man. Also, so this brings me to the lightsabers. The reason why I want the hut is because I wanted to see all the stuff that's in there.
What if it's Nari's hut? What if he finds Nari's hut? And Nari did have a little like hideout kind of hut on a hill.
That'd be cool. That would make sense because it's like him, like Obi-Wan hiring contractors. It just feel like he'd get fleeced. I love the scene with the like. They added 2 things. I feel like they're like, we need droids, so we need little droid segments. And I love his little security droid. I think that's really cool. And then of course we've got Nora is the little playmate droid for Leia, which I think is great too.
Oh yeah.
The other thing
people are gonna spend 30 minutes on their respective podcasts talking about Lola, but
is it Lola?
Cool. So cool.
That's the name. I also saw in the credits that's the name of the VFX company. It's like Lola VFX or something. So maybe they're involved in creating that droid character. But so they needed to have that, but they also needed some comedy and some levity. And like, yeah, the Jawas.
Best Jawa scene I've seen in a long time. Also most poignant. I was like, oh my God, like it found Anakin's belt. I was like, is that Anakin's belt?
Is it Anakin's
like,
belt?
exactly.
Or is it?
It's just a Jedi belt, but I was like, is that what I think it is?
Oh, no kidding. I thought it was either Nora's belt. I'm going to know Kari's belt. Nari.
Yeah.
He's wrong again, Ben. Or Obi-Wan's belt himself, but I guess he would have taken that with him.
It could be. It could be.
Because it looked a lot like Obi-Wan's belt that I've seen in a million.
He could have thrown out his clothes, I imagine.
Like, wouldn't that be his starfighter that he abandoned?
Yeah,
you know?
I guess you're right. You're right.
So all that
scene is classic.
Yeah, but I wanted to see Qui-Gon's lightsaber hilt. Like, I wanted him to still have that.
Qui-Gon's lightsaber is weirdly modern, which I always liked. I was like, it's like weirdly like it doesn't look. I guess it doesn't look all like Greebles and sort of like Greeblies like all like stuck together like Kit Bash. Doesn't look like that. It looks like a sleek like modern like if you were to design a lightsaber like it would look like Qui-Gon's lightsaber, which is like has a black grip, red button, like silver.
Very stylized. Ergonomic. Yeah, very modern, ergonomic. It's epic. I really want to
weirdly different looking someday. A lot of the other sabers. I was like, this saber looks strange. It doesn't look like ornate like Luke's and Obi-Wan's.
Yeah, and Obi-Wan's fan. I remember there's a great behind the scenes where they have Obi-Wan, Ewan McGregor and Liam Neeson choosing their lightsaber hilts, and I think Ewan got first crack at it, which is weird because there's a very distinct. No one wants to hear this, but it's like style progression of Obi-Wan's lightsabers. Like it starts sort of like a little bit like Qui-Gon's, and then it sort of reduces down into what influences Luke creating his, like Luke's green lightsaber is almost a twin of Obi-Wan's A New Hope lightsaber, the one that we see in here. Yeah,
and I wept in that moment. I mean, like, well, I guess we'll jump through it a little bit, but yeah, we go back to Alderaan. Leia gets kidnapped. Bale, messages Obi-Wan, sends a hollow message to Obi-Wan asking him for help. Obi-Wan's like, I'm sorry, like I can't leave here. Like
Yeah.
And he refuses the call, and then
Bill's like,
Obi-Wan walking into his cave has like a little security system, like a droid, an astromech, like camera that pops up and like blinks blue or red depending on like the danger level inside the crib.
The weather is red.
And it turns out
amount of danger in this
you
game.
go in there's like a guy in a cloak. It's Bail. Bail's like had to come in person, had to schlep all the way to Tatooine because Obi-Wan's being difficult.
Right.
And he's like, they've gone to Daiyu. I don't know how he finds out that information. There's a lot of convenient plot stuff in the two parts that we'll talk about. It's fine.
Do you really want to spend time how they found Daiyu?
No, I don't. I really don't.
I think it's also it was a trap, right? So that information was probably planted by Reva.
Yes.
And I was I mean, it was a mystery. Like, how do they know Daiyu? And then like, who are these? Who is Flea's nihilists? And then I thought it was a cool reveal that it was Reva setting this, plot.
And we do learn that Daiyu has a kind of like a hollow feed jammer where like there's it jams all communications. So like you can't transmit messages to Daiyu and out of Daiyu. Nothing goes in or out.
Yeah, and you can't track ships apparently.
Yeah, you can't track ships that land and leave, I guess, Daiyu. So that's pretty it's interesting that she chose that planet, right? Like that's she chose that, Reva. So
it's where bad things
obviously
happen.
Bail's like, please help me, and then Obi-Wan finally agrees, and then that's when he digs up the sabers.
Yeah, so cool, man. He knows exactly where it is. Like he can
there was no marking. It's just like the dunes of Tatooine. So it's just like he just by the Force, I guess, like through whatever connection he has, he was able to remember where the sabers are.
Which I think is awesome. That's like perfect Star Wars to me. It's just like, you don't need to look. It's like there's that connection with the lightsaber and the kyber crystal that's just like he could pick it out from 2 star systems away. His and probably with Anakin's lightsaber right next to it, it's just like that is, the physical instantiation of his trauma right there, like in that box. So
it's
really
an
easy one to spot.
It takes you right back to that moment where he picked up Anakin's saber and just bounced and you're devastated. And he goes, and it's perfect reason to go off world is to go save Leia Organa. She was taken by the pirates. Flea's tormenting her on the ship, and then they land in like the sewers. This is
Flea's tormenting her with funk, with slap and pop.
Interior sewers interrogation room. Like Leia is just, I guess, trying to escape with Lola, who's still active, but then the pirates destroy Lola. Lola gets destroyed.
Poor Lola.
Yeah.
I love that Leia is like kind to droids, and I'm like, yeah, that's great.
Yeah,
it's great.
And I see why they released 2 episodes, because the end of episode 1 is Obi-Wan now leaving,
answering the call
to Daiyu.
Yeah,
and so now we have Daiyu, Obi-Wan on a new world, like. Couldn't ask for more. So cool. Like the production beautiful design, like the sets, all the different non-humans like running or walking around. Like that was so cool.
There's like these weird slug things that were just sort of like shimmying across the ground. It like looked very practical, we'll say, but I still loved it. I thought it was great.
So many good creatures.
Yeah, I like seeing non-bipedal like creatures in the galaxy, even though that seems to be the preferred sort of mode of transportation is like 2 legs and arms with a weird face or whatever. But it's pretty great. And we get so we get Investigator Obi-Wan back, like doing his
thing. He's like, it's like Taken. Leia got took. So
it's like Taken. He's like, what would Qui-Gon
what would Qui-Gon do? He's
I have a very specific set of skills.
In the multiverse, Qui-Gon somewhere has been making Taken movies, and so now Obi-Wan needs to do his own Taken storyline, and that's exactly what he does. And in a Taken story, you usually go find like the seediest sort of like, you go to the seediest corner of the city to find like whatever sort of criminal activity there is, and what he finds is amazing. He basically, he basically hears a story of a Jedi. He's like, "There's no way it's a real Jedi. They would never come here." And it's like it's just too muddled with like bounty hunters and things like that. It just doesn't feel like a Jedi vibe. Like so, he's going there already sort of skeptical. Gets there, finds out it's Kumail Nanjiani's character, Aja Estri, claiming to be a Jedi, doing some of the funniest sort of like I guess parlor tricks in Star Wars. Like he basically is on a comms call with a guy at like the spaceport, or you're supposed to think that, but he's acting like he's controlling an Imperial officer's or like a guard's mind through the call. I think we all know as the audience that like that's impossible, or you wouldn't do that. You wouldn't even use the phone. You wouldn't even use the transmitter at that point. You would just sort of go into their mind if you could.
But it's like too far long distance. That's why like Obi-Wan's looking at him askance and he's doing that like, that's not how the Force works.
Great looks, and then he swindles those people out of like 500 credits.
Well, I think he put them on the ship. Like
so we're going to see. I guess there's more to. Haja Estri has a lot more to do, I feel like, with this story. His name is definitely not Haja Estri, right? Like that's his Jedi name. Did he invent that, or is that his real name? What do we?
Let's say it's his real name. It's all we got to work with.
That's all we got to work with. But I gotta think there's more story with Haja Estri.
I do too, because I think he's actually a good character. Like, yes, he's taking people's credits, but I think he is helping people, and I think he's just a super fanboy of the Jedi. Is sort of how it's revealed. Like he's like one of us. Like he's just like cosplaying being a Jedi to help people because he's like thinks Jedi are the answer to actually help people in this world. Because I mean, well, we know he actually did help Obi-Wan, and I think I inferred that he did get those people on a transport off world, which is what they were paying for. But he just made it look like he did it through the Jedi way with Jedi tools. I think to inspire hope, like the Jedi are still out there. Like we need them in the galaxy. We need that force in the galaxy. And I don't know. That's what he represented to me. But we just only seen him like being this Jedi figure, and we know he's not a Jedi. So I just didn't know, is this just like, is he someone else? Is there like some other story going on? Is he a rebel trying to get people off world, off Daiyu, and actually helping this cause, and a good guy, or like or we'll see.
Or I think is he just Haja Estri, parlor tricks, seedy sort of like character in
2-bit con man.
Con man.
At first, I think he's introduced as a con man, but I don't know. I thought by the end of the episode they were kind like, nope, there's another layer there.
Kind of a DJ figure in terms of like morally ambiguous. You were like, what? Like, what is this character? What's the end goal of this character? I know he's getting Obi-Wan off world, and he got those people off world.
Mm-hmm.
He did get paid, right? Like,
he got paid by the people, not by Obi-Wan.
Yeah, not by Obi-Wan.
I think he's a virtuous character actor. I think that's what I'm choosing to believe. But there's definitely, they gave you that ambiguity, so you don't really know what his deal is.
Yeah, they created that ambiguity by Obi-Wan, which I think was kind of unnecessary, being like, you're a rat in the sewers, and I was like, geez, like okay, like you don't like just say that was wrong. And then when Kumail's like, I got them on the transport at least, I was like, okay, that's like he did get them off Daiyu. That's an incredibly hard thing to do. The planet, it seems like a tough place.
So Obi-Wan, like, and where he is right now. So I love that they've now set this up like a video game. I'm like, okay, it's sort of like you started off with 0 power to Obi-Wan, and he's slowly reincorporating his old skills. He's still trying to do all this without the use of the Force. And you see him like punch people and be like, ow, like, because he's not using the Force. He's using this crazy Jedi Krav Maga, which is kind of cool. You don't see that a lot, but like, all right, how did Jedi fight without lightsabers, and to see Obi-Wan do it was pretty cool. Yeah,
that's where some of the quick plot work happens, because Haja Estri is like, you have to go to, if you want to go to the sewers, there's only one place, and then it happens to be the place where there's a drug lab and the pirates are holding Leia. It happens to be like all connected into one thing, and he goes there and he fights off, I think, like right when he gets to the drug lab, and sort of like fights off a Zabrak and another pirate
species that I'm not familiar. A lot of new species in the show, which I think are new types of.
I guess they're just security at the drug lab, and he fights those guys. And when he gets punched in the face like immediately, and he's like, oh, and you're like, oh, like you're like, if you have the Force, you probably would have ducked that. You know what I mean? But just served
it or something.
Yeah. Then he does use the Jedi Krav Maga, as you said. Yeah, just perfect CQC, sort of like close quarters, just takedowns, and then just gets that guy up in a chokehold, and it looked really good. And I thought Deborah Chow was like does excellent action, because like that looked like a real chokehold, and it looked like the guy was actually like, Obi-Wan got that guy good. You know what I mean? Like it was very well done, I thought. And then
he's still got it. He's just older and out of shape. Is sort of like what I felt.
Right.
Can we talk about Breaking Bad Obi-Wan?
Yeah, Breaking Bad Obi-Wan. I need a figure. That needs to happen at some point. He is wearing like the scrubs and like has the rebreather. I guess they're called rebreathers in Star Wars. And
and looking at the chem lab.
Yeah. And then there's this shot. There is like is either like there's a Breaking Bad sort of like, I always think like Weird Science or like Goosebumps, kind of like just like he's up with all these like, vials and bubbling, sort
cauldrons and beakers and
stuff. And I was like, this is classic like science shot, science lab shot. And his outfit looks cool in that. And there's another like weird thing where I was like, once he saves Leia and they leave the sewers, he's like, we have to change. Like I was like, don't. You're head to toe covered, like the rebreather, the goggles, like you look like you're very well hidden right now, Obi-Wan. Yeah. Like, and then he's like, no, we have to change. Changes with no face masks or anything, just like a hood, I think, at some point.
Yeah, and he buys her a nice,
and then takes the hood off. I'm like, what? I was like, all right, we're doing this all wrong, Obi-Wan. I had to really stop thinking like that and just enjoy the episode because I was worried about him, not being covered up.
But we start getting like these great, like new classic Obi-Wan lines. Right before he escapes, it's like he's got two guns to his head and Flea in front of him, and he's like, "I didn't know Jedi could bleed."
Oh, yeah.
He's like, everybody bleeds. As he just like takes them all out with the glitter stem.
You're bleeding on my floor.
Yeah. And he's like, everybody bleeds. Just like, I don't know. I love that sort of casual elegance that Obi-Wan has in the toughest times.
Whips like drug bomb on the ground, and it explodes, like powder goes everywhere, and then everyone gets, I guess the glitter stem gets in everyone's system, and they're all acetated. He's out with the rebreather.
That was, I think, the Fleet's best acting was him just being like drugged up against like the door, and then the door opens and he just was like, I thought that was great. Fleet did a great job. He's seen a couple drug dens in LA, I'm pretty sure. It was the 90s were tough for the Chili Peppers.
No doubt. And then I guess Haja Estri, they fight off some bounty hunters. Haja Estri finds them in the alley. And then Haja Estri's like, I'll help you. Like, what choice do you have? Leia's like, what choice do we have? Like, and then Reva's hot on their tail, obviously finds, Flea and the pirates all drugged out. And then she leaves that place and hunts through the alleys. Yeah, or I guess she goes to the rooftop after that. She starts like rooftop watching after that.
Actually, she goes. Like, she sends out that wanted poster, right, to all the ne'er-do-wells in the city, which I thought was great. Again, we get the classic like Obi Wan Kenobi wanted poster, which I thought was great. And she's going directly against orders. She's supposed to be completely like stand down. Grand Inquisitor wants to take this quarry back himself, but he wants to do it in his way. Which I think you're right. It's probably like orders from the Emperor, sort of like staying below the radar. And and I thought it was great. And so we get to see a dinosaur bounty hunter.
I thought of Adam when we saw that. I was like, Adam is gonna flip when he sees just a straight up velociraptor stand up with like a battle rifle and just walk out. I was like, and like weirdly, that was like one of the only kind of like bounty hunter highlights. Like other bounty hunters like came out of the backgrounds and like the woodwork, but that dinosaur got like a full on like cut. We're showing the dinosaur cut back to Obi-Wan. I was like, wow. Okay, we're really going to show off this alien.
And we did get like a Forlom type bounty hunter in there too,
which
but it didn't feel
scary, and I thought so well done. Like the ominous, glowing kind of insectoid eyes, green eyes, and then like kind of like making that strange noise and kind of like waddling out. Like it almost felt like Dark City or like some of the Riddick movies and what they do in those, where it's like there's like there's always that one sort of like tracker, like creature that's like humanoid and terrifying.
And it totally works. So Obi-Wan, Reva's watching rooftops. She sees a gunfight. She's like, boom, I've got him. And then,
wait, is it the dinosaur that like engages?
Yep. Yeah. And then so there's Obi-Wan with a blaster.
Wait, it's yellow blaster fire too, which was so cool. I was like, I like seeing yellow as like a bolt color because it just looked really cool.
Yeah, and then Obi-Wan's blaster was red, so like more classic. But they so they get in a firefight and he's not using the Force, and he's not good with a blaster.
Yeah.
Like he's just a terrible shot, an inelegant weapon.
Yes. A more uncivilized time.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's it. So we get to see it. That's that moment. That's the callback to that line.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then they obviously like Leia set it up with like, if you're a Jedi, make me float. I want to float. And you're like,
yeah, that part was like, oh no, like it's Leia you're with, so it's just like, and you're not truly in charge, Obi-Wan. You got to understand that. And she is. She wants him to prove that he's a Jedi like immediately, as they're basically trying to escape, and there's wanted posters out, and bounty hunters are hot on their trail. Yeah. And Obi-Wan's just, again, Obi-Wan's forced into that parenting role, like forced into it. Like he has to be now this parent. And what he does is like, I think Leia gets kind of discouraged as they're running at some point. He does like walk over to her and like ask her, like, tell me about that. Or like, that part was beautifully done. I thought.
Because he realized the error in his way. He's like, oh no, he died. Like they crushed my droid, and he's like, good. And then he's like, that was insensitive. And like, he's like, okay, tell me about your experience and do it. Like he's like, the old like,
did that not hit the
things come back.
That was
That was all through it. I also felt, and I don't know if this is because I'm just like a total Star Wars nerd, but I felt like the Force moving the characters, and like credit to Deborah Chow. Like it was like the story's it felt like pushed by the Force, when they're being forced down alleyways,
right?
And like chased and all that.
That's such a good
point. Right, but it feels like this is all the will of the Force, like it's coming together. It's bringing Obi-Wan back. It's like nurturing Leia and Luke, and and it's just like
it's so circuitous, and it's like they're like going through the city, and they're like, we got to change. They go to like the specific market stall. They get the clothes. They go through another alley. That way is cut off. They have to trust Haja Estri. They have to choose this cargo route. They have to get off this planet in some way. But there's all these, I guess, these like paths within this maze that they have to go through, and they're going down. They're being funneled down one specific path to this one brown cargo ship that looks like it might just fall out of the sky, but they're going to it. It's what they're going to. They're trusting Haja Estri, and their only choice gets them off world, which is pretty cool. I was like, this does feel like the Force at play. That's a really good point. And obviously Leia, during the firefight, Leia falls off the building, and Obi-Wan, that we see it for the first time. Obi-Wan reconnects to the Force, reaches out, and loved it because it reminded me of when Anakin and Obi-Wan sort of like tried to push each other on the table, and they like caught. Like the Force, they basically caught each other. And it became that sort of stalemate, and it felt like you kind of get the shot of the face, and then you kind of get the shot of his hand, and it kind of cuts back and forth, and like he does catch her, and you're like, yes, like you're basically like up on your feet at that point. You're like, he's back, like he's back.
You're doing a power slide across the room like I was on my knees. I was like,
he did it.
But I loved the acting there too in his face. It was like he's like, oh, when he finally reconnects to the Force again, like because he has to. It's like this effort to do it, and then when it happens, he's like, oh, like I'm back. And, and it's wild, and I can't wait to see him. Like, because I think it's pretty clear the answer is he needs to reconnect to the Force and still be one with the Force to do what he needs to do. And I love his power coming back, and him like building himself back up into even past what he was into something more, which is old Ben, which I think is the most powerful Ben version of Obi Wan Kenobi there is, and powerful in a sense of like, I don't know, has come to his fruition, sort of like the ultimate.
It's the pen more than the sword at that age. It's what he says that changes the galaxy more than
his strength comes from his wisdom. I love that they called back a line that I had forgotten about that I would have used in our little debate about how awesome Obi-Wan is, which is they say he's as Anakin said he's as wise as Master Yoda and as powerful as Master Windu, which is like, I mean, I would say that's why they choose
him to when they need to take down Grievous and the Clone Wars once and for all. They choose Obi-Wan,
Yeah.
When I almost think Obi-Wan should have been like, no, Anakin should go. I think in that moment he could have saved the entire galaxy.
If you had just been like no,
my arrogant, apprentice turned knight friend, he is going to be pretty resentful if I get all the glory of this war, because I know his personality. He's just that kind of a person.
He's just that kind of person, and he would have ousted Grievous.
Yeah, that's what kind of person he is. So just let him do it, and then you don't have to take the credit yourself.
Again, Obi-Wan is more the investigator, but yeah, I think you're right. The whole thing could have been done, and actually that parallels this last scene in Obi-Wan very well, because he ends up trusting Leia to like manage them, to be like, I need you to execute this. Go here, wait for me, and then if I don't show up, you need to run. And she pulls it off perfectly. She even knows, like, she's totally using the Force by the way as a kid.
Oh,
and
she slides. She does like a Jedi slide at like 10.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, well, Luke's not doing that.
Yeah, no, he's not. But like also she knows when exact moment, like when the door is going to close. So she hits it before Obi-Wan even gets there. And it just like the timing is like perfect. Like that's Force sensitivity.
Oh, no doubt.
Yeah. And so I think, like that's the thing. Like you said, if Obi-Wan had trusted Obi-Wan and Anakin had advocated for Anakin to go take down Grievous, then none of this, would have happened. But also maybe, the senator wouldn't have been revealed, et cetera, et cetera.
That's a different rabbit hole, though. I mean, we're just talking about the potential and the power of Obi-Wan, which is great. I mean, the guy is one of the best warriors ever.
And I do. I know the fanboy in me wants to see him be super powerful. I know there's more, important traits in a Jedi and a human and all that than power, but I want to see him glow with light of the Force at some point in this, and just like really, single-handedly bring this all together, because we know it's going to work, and somehow he's going to end up safe back on Tatooine with no one chasing him for the next 10 years. So
I don't know what's ahead in this show, but I do believe I've read somewhere that Deborah Chow said the choreography is reminiscent of the prequels more than the original trilogy or the sequels. And so when we see Vader and Obi-Wan,
it's on
sabers in this show,
right? And
it might be fast paced. Sort of, you might see Obi-Wan's full power in that fight. So you might get what you want. You know what I mean? You might see him full power.
I just might. Yeah. I'll at least get what I need.
Yeah. Full power Obi-Wan, that'd be great. But at the same time, I mean, he
has to come out as the master in that confrontation, right? He's like, when last we met, you were the master and I was the learner. So that's what I want to see.
I think what Obi-Wan's learning in this show is also like choosing his battles.
Yeah.
And I think it's paying off choosing his battles. Which I think is something that we don't talk about enough, because I think the will of the Force kind of takes up most of our conversations, where it's like, oh, it's probably the will of the Force that they're doing this, but there's a lot of like choice. Obi-Wan has a lot of choice that he makes. He makes a lot of choices, and
right, he's holding a lightsaber. I mean, there was a thought in my head that like when he sends Leia off, I'm like, he's going to actually confront her with a lightsaber, but he doesn't. He hides.
Yeah, he hides. Chooses not to fight anyone there, which is smart. You wouldn't want to. You wouldn't want to do that. You wouldn't want to risk, because like they don't even get eyes on him. Like, so we get to this part where they're basically Leia. We're right here in the story, anyways. We get to this part where Leia and him make it to the cargo bay, and it's just filled with cargo. There's like crates everywhere, and they're running through the crates and getting to the cargo ship. He tells Leia to go get on the ship as Reva has like now walked into the bay and is calling out Obi-Wan. Knows it's Obi-Wan, but they do that great thing where like, she doesn't have eyes on him. She can't see him. He's hiding behind a crate, and it's like, you imagine she senses there. She knows it's almost like she has 99% certainty he's there, and he is. We as the audience know, and I love
think 100% certain. She's like, he's right there.
I love the trick of us knowing both sides and having eye line on both sides, and then obviously Grand Inquisitor has to be the buzzkill for every time for Reva. Every time. Do
you feel bad for Reva? Do you feel for her?
I'm like, can the Grand Inquisitor like go to another sector? Like, I think she's got this. Like, I don't know why.
She had him twice. She had him twice dead to rights. Like, as you know, if she had taken a swing at Owen, that Obi-Wan would have stepped in, I think. But
100%. Actually, I don't know. That might have solved a lot for Obi-Wan.
right. Actually, dead.
I'm joking.
If he had killed 3 Inquisitors on Tatooine, I think it would have brought them down in a, the full fury of the Empire.
No, I know, but he may have taught Luke older if Owen had fallen. You know what I mean? Just
Oh, I see what you mean. If she actually killed Owen, then
that's all he wants to do. He just wants to get close to Luke, and Owen's like, get away. And I don't know, but no, he would have stepped in. I think he loves Owen and Maru for taking good care of. But no, he would have definitely stepped in. And then this cargo bay scene was just spectacular. I loved it. She's hunting them through the crates. Grand Inquisitor comes in, tells her to stand down. She's fed up.
Yeah, she's had enough. She's like, oh yeah, stand down. You know what I think about your rule? It's a very tentative rule in the Inquisitors. Like if you're on the top of the heap, it is not a secure position.
Yes,
you are constant. That just more problems being an upper management in the Fortress Inquisitorious.
Right, and they do treat her poorly because they act like she's obviously a Jedi, like she was once good, and like that makes her not as dark or as evil as them, and therefore she's not one of them, like one of these dark side Inquisitors.
Right, and therefore she's trying twice as hard to be evil. I mean, it worked. Like it worked to a T what she was doing. Her methods totally would have at least got her a confrontation with Obi-Wan. And if he's as weak in the Force right now as he appears,
it's so obvious to me who Reva is now and her motivations. I think Reva was someone who truly loved the Jedi, and I think she wants an answer for why the Jedi fell, and is looking to one of these council members and being like, why would you do this? Like, I loved the Jedi. Why didn't you stick up? Why didn't you stop this? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think that's what the story is more than anything else. And I sense that, and that's an emotional place. And I really hope we get there. I really do. I do feel like she loves the Jedi. And I think Hajj History is a beautiful kind of poetic character in that what you're saying, Ben, he may love the Jedi. He may think they're, there is a sort of, they do idolize the order.
Right, but you see it from the other side. It's like, I was a child and you abandoned me. Like if she saw the hollow that Obi-Wan.
Where were you?
Yeah, he was like going to hide.
Where were you when that happened?
Yeah. Right, and it was his
in the water on Utapau, like swimming. It's like swimming in like a torrent of water on Utapau, and or I guess underwater, and then hiding out. Like he immediately went into the shadows, Obi-Wan. Sneaking.
He
like, I guess, obviously
he regrouped with Yoda, and then he went to go kill Anakin. And that was kind of it. But yeah, he was in Utapau, and then
I imagine a lot of Jedi would be searching for Yoda and Obi-Wan. That's another interesting thing to me. It's like, and Nari even seemed like he knew Obi-Wan was there, tracking him through the rocks and like the dunes. It's, to me, that just tells me that people are looking for Obi-Wan and Yoda and anyone who's on the council for answers as to like, how did this fall apart so quickly?
Right. So we get the scene.
It's their fault. I don't want to say it's their fault, but it's their fault. Like, I don't.
Yeah. I would want answers. It's like, wait, why we are the guardians of peace and justice, and this is our hour. Like, why aren't we active right now? I felt that way about Rage Against the Machine too, when things started falling apart. They disappeared. Like when they ghosted, it was like, we need you most now. Okay. But so you're totally right. This and there's a lot there
where this is all going, I think. And then
I love that story, and they've just been like hitting on everything so far. So
it's perfectly, that's why the beginning is the beginning too, I imagine.
Right. But so two monstrous things to happen, really momentous things happen in this hangar before Obi-Wan escapes. One is it's revealed to him that Anakin is alive, or Darth Vader is alive. So, and that so he does know Darth Vader is Anakin and vice versa. And she's like, yeah, Vader's alive. She's like, Anakin's alive. So Reva knows that Darth Vader is Anakin Skywalker, which is, I didn't think the Inquisitorious knew that. I didn't think many people knew that. And if they did, I thought Vader killed them.
Yeah.
We see in that, it was in that comic where Vader has an altercation with the librarian.
Right.
And she
gotta think,
reveals the secret to his like troops, and he's like, and Vader kills all his troops because he's like, no one can know this.
I always ask the question, would it serve the Emperor for people to know that Vader was Anakin Skywalker, a Jedi who fell a turncoat, basically, who saw the evil in the Jedi's ways. You almost need Vader's story for your your ideology to function, right? Like, don't you need that story? Because like if you don't have that story as the Emperor, it's like a Jedi turned against their own, one of their best turned against their own, realizing they're evil. Like, don't you need that a little bit?
Yeah.
That helps. It corroborates my like attempt on my life story. All this kind of stuff. It wraps in nicely together.
Yeah. So, and it crushes hope, for other people.
Crushes hope. Yeah, it just crushes hope. So I think that's a story they'd want to get out there.
Yeah.
You know what I don't know. So
yeah. I mean, I
think it serves the Emperor well for people.
It's bad marketing that the face of the Clone Wars, the hero of the Clone Wars, is now this like monster. This like half robotic,
It's also beautiful. It's also like a poetic idea, I think, too. Like
and it's sort of like, well, maybe it's not a good thing if he's just this like monster enforcer lord. Mm-hmm. I think actually Reva refers to Vader as the father, like in like their
no, it's Bail. It's Bail. I double checked on that.
Okay, thank
times.
you.
I'm like, because they were friends. Bail and Obi-Wan were friends during the Clone Wars, but like, what's great there is it's got the double meaning, right? It's like, oh, Anakin as well was his best friend, and they worked together during the Clone Wars, and so it's that was great. I thought that was a smart line. They do just talk about, it's like, I don't even know why she's like, Anakin's alive. Like, I don't even know why she's doing that. It's kind of like 80s pulp action, like someone just like telling you all this exposition, this dark facts you don't want to know as you're hiding from them. It's like, you've seen these scenes in movies before, and it's cutting and it's terrifying. And then when you cut to Obi-Wan's face, hearing her say Anakin's alive, he's like,
it's all coming back.
It's like sublime horror, and he plays it so well. And what I love about it is it added so much stakes to the show. Like, the show, like the stakes for the show just ratcheted up to, like, it made Vader so intimidating again. And this is what I've always said. I think Star Wars desperately needed this. I think they needed to deepen the threat with Vader after the sequel trilogy, because all you get is like a rusted out helmet and everyone just kind of like bad talking him and all this kind of stuff. And it's just like, and I guess it just doesn't matter in the overarching and ending the Emperor's life. I guess that didn't matter at all. Whatever. Not better, but like I almost think you need to deepen the lore with Vader, and I think this is a wonderful additive sort of complexity that Obi-Wan sees him as the ultimate terror. Like, that's so nice. I think that's such a good idea.
Yeah, I before we get to the last scene, the other big thing that happened in there was that Reva obviously killed the Grand Inquisitor, so she's a rogue agent now. Like, I mean, I assume everything she's doing is.
Well, again, is Grand Inquisitor dead?
No, because I said killed, but tried to kill.
Because I think what you might see in this show is just like the kind of like means in which the dark side or the Sith kind of like, and the Inquisitors, I guess, they're an off branch of that, like how they cheat death. Like, I think you might see some of that in this show, like how Palpatine's people kind of like immediately get cybernetics like Vader. Like it's like they don't need to go to a chop shop or like the modder kind of club. They can just, it's just all Imperial in-house best equipment. Like, and it's just their service immediately, like his gut is immediately patched with cybernetics. But
we know from the comics too that like when Vader was personally training the Inquisitorious, he was cutting limbs off left and right, and like just because he didn't care about them. And so they probably have a pretty good in-house.
I would also like to see Inquisitors cut each other down and then have to come back and work with each other. Like, I would actually think that would add to the drama in a way that I don't think you could do. It's very like Sam Raimi sort of like esque, sort of zombie. I don't know, like drama.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we might get it because I don't know. I love your motivations for Reva, what you're saying, where it's like she just wants answers to like, and to why the Order abandoned her. And and she wants Obi-Wan and Anakin to get this together. Like, she knows sort of they're the ones that have done this.
She could want to kill both of them together at the same time. Heroes, maybe they failed to save the Order. They destroyed it. Their relationship destroyed it.
Yeah, she wants answers on a lot of levels. But I think, I still hold to our prediction from last week that Vader's going to be the one that kills Reva. But we'll see how. I can't wait to see how that plays out. But yeah, so we do get the last scene that we were talking about, and if I'm remembering correctly, Obi-Wan's like now safe flying away in his transport, but he just says Anakin, and it's like he force Skypes, and then you see Hayden Christensen in the back to tank with the bright golden yellow eyes, just like pure hatred.
Yes.
And it's like, and he's like in the tank, and you're like, it in that moment, Hayden very much feels like Darth Vader, and you're like, oh, angry. And it's terrifying. It's terrifying. And like Obi-Wan's like, oh my God. Like, he's like, I knew I failed, but I didn't know I failed this hard.
I forget what that frame looks like, but it had this sterile, almost like alien Geiger sort of like quality to it, where it just didn't feel like the back to tank in Rogue One, or didn't feel like back to tanks in other things. It felt like it just felt evil, like so contrasty that the black apparatus kind of looked like the mouthpiece and tubes and things like that. Looked so evil. Like it was dark. Like this Vader is going to be extremely dark, and I'm excited for that. I think that's what you have to do, honestly, is show the Dark Lord of the Sith Vader. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, what is that? You know?
And there's something more terrifying about seeing, like, the more we can see Hayden inside, being like the man inside the suit is like, it's another.
You need that for the hate.
The onion.
He needs to be like grimacing and just hate. You know, feeling just like raw hate for Obi-Wan, and that's the only way to do that is with Hayden mixed with the suit. You know what I mean? And
right.
That looks like.
Right, because we never, in the original trilogy, we never see under his face under the helmet. We see the back of the head, and then we also, at his redemption, we see a very kind man in the suit.
Anakin was also like a beautiful man, and like, wouldn't he want to take off his helmet? Like, there's some real drama you could explore where it's like, look what you did to me, sort of thing. Reva wants answers. Look what you did to me. Like, the drama in this could be on another level, really, like that I've never seen in Star Wars.
I think it already is, because like Obi-Wan, like on the one hand, is probably been beating himself up for killing his best friend, but now he's alive.
What happened to him almost, like,
right? But like, he's alive, which he's probably like, oh, thank God you're alive. But it's like, oh no, now you're this terrible thing, and I'm responsible for it. It's a lot. There's a lot going on in this show. It's like, you know,
we're heavy. It's gonna only get heavier.
I know. My dumbass was like, oh, I just want to see, you know, Obi-Wan puttering around in the desert, and then, you know, Lucasfilm puts together this amazing drama, horror show, like touching all the bases of Star Wars in such a beautiful way. And I'm just so pleased and glad there are people smarter than me writing shows. I'm just stoked about this thing, and I love the cinematography. I know the production budget was probably different and allocated in different ways, but they did a really good job differentiating the look of this show compared to Boba Fett and Mandalorian. It felt and looked like a different show.
It looked gorgeous. The stagecraft technology continues to develop, and the environments look even more real, and the backdrops feel larger. The set extensions feel like further. It's more depth to the sets. It felt bigger. Tatooine felt bigger in this show in a way.
Yeah.
After watching Mando and Boba, I was like, oh, this Tatooine looks just way bigger. Like, it feels just more expansive.
We got a lot of the wide landscape shots that are my favorite things, like seeing, you know, like Obi-Wan taking his Yopi out, like the transport from the butcher site to the city, which I don't know if it's
a lot of like Lawrence Arabia kind of looking shots.
Yeah, and you're like, it's one thing shooting, and you see the skyline of the city in Tatooine. Do we know if it's Mos Eisley or Mos Espa? Probably Mos Espa.
Probably Mos Eisley.
Mos Eisley.
Again, if it's Mos Eisley,
Mos Eisley spaceport. So yeah, it's probably Mos Eisley.
Yeah. And if it is Mos Eisley, you'd think there would be, you know, some shady characters to fight the Inquisitors. But again, it just looked like a lot of moisture evaporator farmers, a lot of, you know, I don't know, sort of vendors. It didn't look like it didn't look like the hive of scum and villainy. So maybe it was Mos Espa, honestly.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well,
We will learn more, I'm sure. I just hope his Yopi is okay and someone's feeding him
I hope it's in the
beautiful
shade.
sashimi. Yeah.
Yeah. I thought we were gonna get a fart at one point. Like they take there's a long take where it kind of like sits, and I like thought at the end of when it finally rests, I thought we were gonna get like a little putter. You know what I mean? Just
An EOP fart. No, just to like break the tension in the room.
Really, I think it was needed. I was like, it's the one George Lucas, nod we needed.
Oh, that's the one. Look, Lucas, this.
I'll call out where I'm gonna put it in my supercut. I'll show you exactly the moment where it should be.
That is amazing. We've now talked about this show for as long as the show runs. Oh no. Again, it's like we're an hour and a half.
Jedi Survivor was great.
Yeah, Jedi Survivor was
awesome.
good. But it's interesting. No, so there was also the Survivor trailer. So if you've hung on this long and you like video games, stick around. Yeah, we got our first trailer. We've heard whispers that there was a name for this game, Jedi Survivor, the sequel to Jedi Fallen Order, and we got to see our first look at it. Even though there was no gameplay, it was just drama and very cryptic drama. But we get the Grand Inquisitor as the narrator, who again looks different from both the cartoon and the
really good in the game,
show.
I gotta say.
He looks really good in the game. He looks like a Count Dracula sort of character. The teeth don't.
Does Rupert Friend voice him in the game? At least is there that connective tissue?
I'm not sure. I forget who. I don't know who voiced him in Rebels. But yeah, it's one of those two people. I would bet. And we see some Cal Kestis. We see like his lightsaber's been captured by the Inquisitor, the iconic Fallen Order lightsaber, which is an amazing design. And then we see it looks like a blonde-haired human female in a Bacta-tank, and that's what Cal is looking at. We get like a lot of close-ups in the Bacta-tank, like through her hair and stuff. It's a really like arty, wild shot. And we see Grease's ship sort of looks like in free fall.
Right.
We're back in that ship, which is amazing, and I'm sad I don't have the name for it here.
Is it also like rusted out at one point, like bombed out the ship, old ship?
I don't know that we saw the exteriors of it. I think we just saw the interiors of it. But it's definitely like there's no one at the controls and it's falling. So
big news here, I think, is Grand Inquisitor is the villain of this game. Looks like he's hunting Cal Kestis. And yeah, there's, I guess, this woman in a Bacta-tank or something, suspended. Yeah. Must be a Jedi, I mean, I imagine. And yeah, I don't know. Who knows what that means? I thought Mara was going to be a playable character in this game. I thought it was going to like switch off with like Dathomiri magic and Jedi stuff and how they can work together to like help Jedi. Right. But instead, it looks like just another really kind of like dark tale of Cal Kestis, sort of like adventure around the galaxy and how he's surviving.
I know. I don't know if we have guesses for who's in the Bacta-tank, but she does look like Avar Kriss a little bit.
That would be wild.
She's been in stasis and they're like, it's your darkest hour.
That would be
call on me.
Wild. The ultimate Jedi is just like locked away somewhere.
Oh my gosh, it's terrifying. But yeah, so maybe we'll get a female playable character, new character introduction here.
She's like the Akira. She's like the Akira of the Jedi Order. She was so powerful they just like kept her like organic tissue in like a tube because they were like, dude, like her psychic powers are like a next level. Like, we have to keep her around.
Yeah, she can like.
That would be great because it would tie to the Zepho stuff, the like ancient alien aspect of the Fallen Order games.
Yeah, you're right. Like the far history sort of coming back. Because, yeah, I mean, sort of treasure hunting and like dungeon diving and is very much part of this game. Yeah, that'd be super to see. So I don't know. I mean, whatever. I have to somehow obtain a PS5 in order to play this game, and I will somehow if it kills.
It's upsetting.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, I've been doing pretty good on my PS4 Pro. It keeps chugging along pretty good.
I like how our podcasts end with, "Do I really have to upgrade?"
Oh man, yeah. Take my money, please. Someone just give me a PS5. But yeah, anyways, exciting times, exciting weekend. I think we did our best with these 2 episodes. We'll be talking about them for a long time. We're looking forward to Adam healing up and getting his opinion soon. We'll see. The celebration's still going. This is only Saturday, and we've had all these announcements. But we'll see what pops up. And when it does, we'll talk about it. So thanks very much for listening to us, everyone. And as always, may the Force be with you.
This is Grex Kondak signing off. For the latest breaking news, follow @CoreWorldNews on Twitter and Instagram. Thank you, and good night.
Remember, the Force will be with you, always.